ओके, तो अभी जैसा कि हम चैप्टर नंबर 6 पढ़ रहे हैं, तो इसमें हमें ये बात याद रखनी है जैसे कि टोटल टाइम जो हमारा ओवरऑल स्पेंड होता है वो टू कैटेगरीज में है, ऑफिस वर्क और घर का घर पे दिया जाने वाला टाइम। अब घर का भी जो टाइम है वो भी हम टू कैटेगरीज में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं। एक जो हमारा कोर कॉम्पिटेंसी में जा रहा है और जो हमारा नॉन कोर कॉम्पिटेंसी में जा रहा है। तो इस चैप्टर को पढ़ने का बेनिफिट ये हो रहा है और ये होना चाहिए कि हमें ये अवेयरनेस आती जाए कि हमारा टाइम घर पे किस तरह से जा रहा है, किन बातों में कितना टाइम जा रहा है। तो उस तरह के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हम आगे आज पढ़ते हैं।
For instance, I have never done a proper spring cleaning. I have never, as her book instructs, cleaned the windows inside and out with a solution of equal parts white vinegar and water. I have never vacuumed the walls and ceilings or rented a carpet cleaner from a hardware store. I have never waxed my wood furniture or steam cleaned the upholstery. To be transparent, I do pay a cleaning service to come in and give my apartment a good scrub from time to time. But I have a home office. So I see what the process involves, and it doesn't seem to include many of the most laborious tasks Mrs. Mayer describes either. Sweeping the floors is more of a weekly thing than a daily thing. I do cook easy two-pot meals that take a maximum of 30 minutes. But having coffee with a friend involves going to Starbucks, where the plethora of baked good means I don't have to spend 2 days constructing an end of the rainbow cake, or for that matter, 20 minutes baking Toll House cookies out of mermaid dough. Messes bother me less than they bother many other folks, but my casual attitude is borne out in time diary data. In 1965, married mothers spent 34.5 hours on household tasks, including mopping, chopping, and laundry. In 2008, moms of minors children spent 16 to 17 hours weekly on these things. Moms like me in dual career couples spent, according to 2006, 3 to 6 data, a bit over 14 hours. Men did more than in 1965, but when you add men's and women's hours, you still don't get the totals of Mrs. Mayer's day. तो शायद इसके पहले मिसेस मेयर्स का रेफरेंस था, तो जिसमें द आवर्स स्पेंट इन दी हाउस होल्ड चोर्स वो शायद ज्यादा था, तो शी इज रेफरिंग टू दैट.
हम्म।
Most people, when asked to guess the reason for the decline, point to labor saving devices. 100 years ago, moms of large broods could spend whole days bent over washboards or baking bread from scratch, really from scratch. On a trip on a trip to Scotland not too long ago, I spent some time wandering around the primitive Croft Tennet farm houses on the Isle of Skye. A sign in one noted that it was not uncommon for mothers to go outside at dawn and hack down some oats, grind them by hand, and turn them into bread or oatmeal before the kids left for school. But this turns out not to be the full explanation for time use in mid century households like Mrs. Mayer's. By the 1950s and 1960s, my old Good Housekeeping magazines came packed with ads for prepared foods such as Kraft salad dressing and Betty Crocker scalloped potatoes, as well as KitchenAid dishwashers and auto cleaning Frigidaire ovens. Certainly, not everyone had dryers and dishwashers. Mrs. Mayer didn't when she embarked on her homemaking adventure, but many people did. In theory, all these devices and conveniences should have saved women time, but they didn't, for a simple reason. A packaged cake mix doesn't lighten your load if you proceed to incorporate it into a 2-day recipe that involves tinting raspberry jam more red than it already is. A washing machine doesn't save you time if you then fill those hours with elaborate rituals for brushing an electric blanket snap.
ये
The real
हमारे घर में भी देखा है मैंने। मतलब जितना टाइम सेव होना चाहिए वो उतना टाइम लगाते हैं और कई बार।
The reality is that time, all 168 hours of it, has to be filled with something.
ट्रू।
If you're not working for pay, then you need something else to do. The obvious answer for moms or dads would be to spend that time playing with their children, just as we assume that stay at home moms today spend a lot of time interacting with their kids. They do spend more time with their kids than moms who work for pay. And for many people, that statistic right there should be the end of the argument in terms of what is best for children. But I want to float the idea that a lot isn't necessarily the right phrase on average for two reasons. First, children spend very few years in that preschool age range when they are actually in their homes, demanding an adult's attention for a lengthy period of time. Even Mrs. Mayer, with her 9 children, only had a baby at home full time for about 15 years. Modern women with 2 or 3 kids will spend less than a decade in this state. And given the rise of preschool for 2 to 4 year olds and children's napping schedules, even women who are not in the workforce will have many waking hours that would not be available for interacting with kids long before the children are in school. Then, when children do start school and other activities, this reduces the time available for parental interaction even more. Children who are at school or on the bus or playing sports from 8 to 3 p.m. each day spend about 35 hours a week out of the home. Perhaps not coincidentally, the same amount that the average mom with a full time job works. Many homemakers re enter the paid workforce when their children start school, but others don't, either because they don't want to or because they encounter obstacles such as a lack of flexibility or discrimination in their attempts to restart their careers. Regardless, by the time they are in school, children of homemakers and children of employed moms do not have appreciably different levels of interaction with their parents. Indeed, one 2002 calculations from a study of children's time found that kids' schedules look pretty much the same regardless of maternal employment, from time spent watching TV to the not so impressive zero point 0.5 weekly hours kids in each family type spend in household conversations.
ओके,
Interesting.
वुड यू लाइक टू ऐड सम रिफ्लेक्शन इसमें अब तक जो भी हुआ, क्या लगता है?
तो क्वाइट इंटरेस्टिंग, जैसा वो बता रहे हैं कि बिफोर बिफोर द चिल्ड्रन स्टार्ट गोइंग टू स्कूल, तो उनका जो जो उनका preschool time and now it has started. Even 2 year kids, 2.5 year, 3 year old kids are put to preschools. So in that context, the stay-at-home mom, or whether the mom in general, gets the waking hours, enough waking hours time. So usme, whether you are working for pay or not working at home, you have a good amount of time. So people, when children start going to school, so ideally they are saying 8 to 3 p.m., which is the same case for me also. So you have enough time. So it doesn't necessarily, if people sometimes do not join back, I mean, mothers do not join back to work after the kids. And it could be not because they have to spend time with their children. It is probably more of that flexibility that they may not be getting, or discrimination from whatever different aspects related to the restarting of their career. So that's a
हम्म
very good aspect of understanding it.
जी, तो वो दो रीजन बता रहे थे, सेकंड रीजन यहाँ से।
Second, there is the reality of human nature. Just as people with paid jobs don't spend 100% of their time on the substance of their work, the average stay-at-home parent doesn't spend 100% of his or her available time on that main job of nurturing children. Married stay-at-home moms with kids under age 6 spend on average 22.5 hours per week on childcare as a primary activity in total. That's 3.21 hours per day for both physical care and playing. Some obviously do much more. We all know moms who fill their children's days with fabulous opportunities for learning and exploration, but some do less too. The kids may be there in the adult's presence, which makes a parent feel on, but the kids are watching videos. The average child aged 2 to 11 watches nearly 4 hours of TV per day, according to Nielsen, though Time Diaries put this number much lower, or playing independently. There is nothing wrong with playing independently. It's how children develop their imaginations and learn to be their own people. But this is not interactive time, particularly if mom is in the next room checking email, and hence this is another factor affecting the totals.
अच्छा, ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन है। मतलब आई एम क्यूरियस टू नो कि 2 3 4 साल का बच्चा कितना टाइम देता है टीवी देखने में?
So
कार्टून्स वगैरह जो देखता है वो?
it depends. Nowadays, even for feeding kids, they are being shown TV and वो कितना कि easily वो खा ले ऐसा करते हैं.
हम्म।
So it is longer and they spend like for my nephew itself, I see that 1 hour he will need to finish his lunch or dinner.
हम्म।
Now he's 4. So from last 2 years, so 1 hour just for one time
मील।
food, one time. So 3 times meal तो है ही. तो 3 hours
और
तो ऐसे ही हो गया.
और मील
Plus
के अलावा भी
other than that, yeah,
मतलब 5 6 आवर्स आराम से हो जाता होगा।
4 5 hours, yes.
और जो बच्चा अभी स्कूल जाना भी शुरू नहीं किया वो तो और भी ज़्यादा देखता होगा।
Hmm. And uh, but for working parents, I think if it is stay at home, mothers can still watch over, I feel. But if you're working in the next room also checking emails like यहाँ पे बताया है, then you may not be able to interrupt and go every now and then कि हाँ, you're watching TV because I have faced it. So I have changed password. I have put password in TV that वो चलेगा ही नहीं without
नहीं, फिर ये
password.
भी होता है ना, जब पेरेंट्स को जैसे बिजी हैं, उन्हें कुछ करना है फोकस करके काम, तो बच्चों को फोकस कराने के लिए क्या करें? कहते हैं ठीक है तुम कार्टून देखो, हम अपना काम करते हैं। तो वो भी करना पड़ता है।
Yes,
तो ये टाइम काफ़ी ज़्यादा है जो जाता है बच्चों का। और कोई इसका
correct.
इजी सॉल्यूशन भी है नहीं है सच।
And this is one time where many times mothers may struggle because I have had that time where I decided whether I should resign, whether I should stop working, and then the boy, I think that phase also is there, which is not mentioned here.